Leaders need to show more composure than ever before in the workplace. With the change management requirements, increased marketplace demands, and intensifying competitive factors that surround us, leaders must have greater poise, agility, and patience to minimize the impact of uncertainty. How leaders respond to these, and other growing pressures, is an indicator of their leadership preparedness, maturity, and acumen. The composure of a leader is reflected in their attitude, body language, and overall presence. In today's evolving business environment, it is clear that leadership is not only about elevating the performance, aptitude, and development of people, but more so about the ability to make people feel safe and secure. Employees have grown tired of working in survival mode, and thus want to be part of a workplace culture where they can get back to doing their best work, without the fear of losing their jobs.
Marine garbage is the most visible and easily recognized of all ocean pollution, and causes serious damage to marine wildlife. Every year, millions of marine animals die worldwide because of this type of pollution. The small personal pieces of garbage, casually discarded, are often the most damaging. While some of this trash is left directly on the beach, much of it originates as street litter from coastal and inland cities where it is washed down to the sea through stormwater drains and rivers. Some trash, particularly plastics, can last in the ocean for years. There are many different items which make up marine garbage, ranging from large commercial fishing nets which can entangle and maim or kill animals, to small plastic bags that can be mistaken for food and ingested by marine life.
Teaching and Teacher Education is an international journal concerned primarily with teachers, teaching, or teacher education, situated in an international perspective, or in an international context. Teaching and Teacher Education is a multidisciplinary journal, committed to no single approach, discipline, methodology, or paradigm. It is concerned with teaching and teacher education in general, and devoted to all concerned with teaching. Teaching and Teacher Education recognizes that many disciplines have important contributions to make to teaching and teacher education, and the editors invite contributions from them. In the absence of any dominant paradigm, the journal welcomes varied approaches to empirical research, theoretical and conceptual analyses, and reviews of high quality. Teaching and Teacher Education aims to enhance theory, research, and practice in teaching and teacher education through the publication of primary research and review papers. The journal does not publish unsolicited book reviews.
Many European countries, as well as most members of the transatlantic NATO military alliance, have already done away with compulsory military service. Of the 28 NATO countries, 23 have full-time professional armies, and 21 of the 27 European Union nations have abolished the draft. The latest to do so is Sweden, which ended conscription on June 30. Alongside Turkey, Germany remains the only major NATO country that still requires its young men to serve in the military. Conscription also still exists in Austria, Cyprus, Estonia, Finland, Greece, and Norway. At 26 months, the longest required military service in Europe is on the island of Cyprus. Denmark's conscription seems by contrast to be impractically short, at just 4 months. However, conscription there is only employed if there is a shortage of volunteer recruits.
If you are self-publishing, using a platform such as Amazon's CreateSpace, or Kindle Direct Publishing, or again you are traditionally published, Your primary income from your book will be in the form of royalties. Royalties are a percentage of a book's sale, or a flat fee per book sold, that are paid to a book's author, to compensate them for publishing and distribution rights. Royalties are typically paid by the publisher after sales are confirmed and fully paid. So, there may be a lag time between a book's sale and when an author actually gets paid. That lag time could even be months. Payout periods and thresholds are determined by publishers, and according to their agreements with authors. When an author gets a traditional publishing book deal, he will usually be paid in advance. It is called an advance, because it is paid as an advance payment against future royalties.
Health information management, or medical records, is committed to confidentiality and quality of protected health information. HIM is responsible to maintain the legal medical records for all Centra facilities, except Centra Medical Group, physician practices. For questions about Centra Medical Group physician practice medical records, please contact the physician practice directly. Centra's release of information is responsible for providing patients, legal guardians, or authorized individuals copies of the medical record. To receive a copy of your medical record, a properly completed authorization from the patient or legal guardian is required by law.
Queen Elizabeth will officially become the longest-serving monarch in British history this week, beating out her great-great-grandmother, Queen Victoria, to take the title. During her almost 64-year-long reign, the Queen has seen a remarkable amount of change in the world, but perhaps no change has greater affected her life than the remarkable decline of the British Empire. When Elizabeth was crowned in 1952, Britain still had a real empire, with more than 70 overseas territories. Even then, however, it was clear that the situation could not last. India, often declared a jewel in the crown for the empire, had won its independence just 5 years before. In 1952, British troops were fighting independence movements in Egypt and Kenya. They would go on to lose both, and many others. By 1979, the British Empire was reduced to a few pockets around the world. The shrinking didn't stop, however. When Hong Kong was transferred to China, in 1997, Queen Elizabeth's son, Prince Charles himself dubbed it, the end of the empire. In 2015, Britain has 14 overseas territories left. Outside of Britain's land in the Antarctic, which is vast, but mostly unpopulated, the largest remaining British overseas territory is the Falkland Islands. At 4,700 square miles, the islands are a little smaller than Connecticut.
A University of Sydney collaborative research study, assessing the viability of captive-bred Tasmanian devils released into the wild in Tasmania, has found devils that spent one or less generations in captivity fared better post-release than those that had been in human care over several generations. Tasmanian devil populations have been decimated by the transmissible devil facial tumor disease in the past 20 years. There has been an 80% decline in devil sightings in Tasmania, and some subpopulations have been reduced by 90%. The Save the Tasmanian Devil program was formed by the Tasmanian government to determine strategies to address this decline, including the establishment of a captive breeding program of healthy devils. To protect against extinction, an insurance population was created in 2006, aimed at establishing a DFDD-free captive population to maintain 95% wild-sourced gene diversity for 50 years. Previous releases of captive devils into the wild, into Maria Island, resulted in an unexpectedly high survival rate of founder devils. However, Maria Island is a national park with very few man-made threats.
The ability to work well with people who have different opinions and values is a persistent challenge in daily work life. The problem, says science, is that most humans unconsciously favor others who are genetically similar. That doesn't just mean we like people who look like us, but also inherited traits, such as enjoying reading or travel are also a big draw. So, what happens when you mix up a group of people that don't necessarily all share similar behaviors and interests? Research shows that the neurotransmitter oxytocin does the opposite of what we normally experience when it's released. Instead of pouring out a flood of feel-good hormones that helps us bond with our perceived opponents, being with people who are not like us causes oxytocin to incite suspicion and disdain. Neither are good tools when working towards a common goal.
There's a high probability that you've encountered an outgoing coworker who climbed the corporate ladder super quickly, easily breezing past more qualified colleagues, maybe yourself included. There was just something about her personality. She had an undeniable presence, an it factor that A-listers, socialites, and even politicians possess, too. She bypassed paying her dues, snagged coveted titles along the way, and every move seemed to be so well orchestrated. She mastered the art of navigating office politics. She was the go-to person for coveted projects, and was chummy with even the most difficult co-workers. Senior-level meetings were rarely held without her. And everyone, even your boss, seemed to be more at ease when she was in the room. Though it's easy to feel a pang of jealousy, or two, there are a few strategies to steal from this type of agile corporate climber, especially if you're on the introverted side. Here, 4 career experts weigh in.